Hi guys, Queen Macaroni here and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be showing you how to make this sunflower dream catcher. So let's get started. A few things you're going to need is a hoop. You're going to need a stitch marker, some scissors, and your choice of colored thread, yarn, embroidery floss, whatever you want to use. You don't have to use a stitch marker either. I just am, it makes it easier. So I ended up using all of these colors, except I switched out the dark brown for a lighter brown because I didn't like the way it looked. With being said, whatever string you choose, I think that embroidery floss or thread or whatever you want to call it is the best choice because it makes it thinner, and like if you use yarn it gets pretty bulky. I was going to tell you what the number codes were on the threads, but I ended up throwing them out because I'm just a genius. So I pre-wrapped my hoop and I used green ribbon for that. Alright, let's get started. So we need 21 spaces on this hoop. So we're going to tie our string on, and that little string that's left over we'll glue it to the back, or you can leave it, do whatever you want with it, doesn't matter. So how to create the loops is you take your thread, you go over top of the hoop and you pull it through. There will be like a little loop there. It's not like a tied knot, it will slide around. So if you want to take like your hot glue gun or your super glue, but I would advise you not to, because you need to get those 21 spaces, and sometimes even though your loops look the same size, they're not. So you'll have to go back maybe a few times, or maybe you'll get it on the first try, all those 21 spaces. They need to be equally put. So that is how you do to get your first spaces, is you go around the hoop and pull through the loop. Now I'm going to put a stitch marker into my first hoop that I made after getting my 21 spaces. It just makes it easier, and I know where I stop and start. So now to create the webbing, you go through the spaces you just previously created and you pull through the loop. And you make sure you pull it tight, and make sure that that little loop is into the center of each space. And we're going to do this for 3 rounds, and your first setup round counts as 1. So you only need to do this webbing 2 more times. And pulling tight is very, very key, because if you don't pull tight, it will be all loose. Pulling tight makes for a good web, strong. It isn't all bendy and wavy and loose. So just make sure that you pull tight, and you make sure that you're, as best as you can, get the loops in to the center of each of those spaces. Just make sure that you're pulling tight and making sure that everything is tight and that the loops are in the middle. And now that you have all your 21 spaces down, you can go around and put some glue so they're not going to move, but I didn't, because I pulled tight and made sure that they weren't going to go anywhere. That's another reason why you pull tight, because if you pull tight and keep it tight, when you go to put your you make another round of webbing, those loops don't go anywhere. So if it's loose, they can get small, they can get big, it can get really messy. So that's why we pull tight, but not too tight to where you break your thread, because I've done that before. It's not fun, and I've had to start a project all over again. So make sure that you're pulling tight, but not too tight. So we only need 3 rounds of rubbing, and right now we have 2. That's why I use the stitch marker. It makes it easier for me to see where I stop and start, and also makes it easier for me to count how many rounds of webbing I do have. Another thing that you could use that I didn't mention is like a yarn needle that you weave in ends with for like crocheting and knitting, to use to get the string in the loops. But I didn't. I just cut, I was being ballsy, and I cut a string that I thought was going to be long enough, and I just weaved, and it was long enough. So like once in like a lifetime because I've always cut it too short. So this time it wasn't. So yeah, 3 rounds of webbing. Remember to pull tight and make sure your loops are in the center. And I guess like the green is supposed to like represent like the leaves. I don't know. So we have 3 rounds of webbing and we're going to change colors. You can use whatever colors you choose. I did like a light yellow to a dark orange to a brown. So I'm switching to a light yellow now, and I'm going to show you how to tie that on. So I actually missed a step with tying this. So what you should do is you should tie it like this twice. Just make 2 loops. It's going to create a small loose knot. And then you should cut your ties, like your ends smaller, and then tie them together in a knot. But I skipped it here for some reason. And I had it sliding all over. But I fixed the problem. I ended up putting glue on it before I switched to my orange color. So you would do those 2 little knots I showed you, and then you would take your last string and the new color string and tie it in a knot. So what we're doing is we're going to be skipping 3 spaces. We're not counting the one we just tied our string on. We're going to be skipping 3 spaces. We're going to be skipping 3 spaces throughout the thing. We're going to be creating like this hexagon shape in the middle of our dream catcher, and this is where our petals start. So we need to make sure that our string is all the way on to the end of that 3rd space. And we're gonna, these strings, you can leave them this length because we're gonna be going over top of them and covering them up, and you won't even be able to know that they're there. So again, we're skipping 3 spots. We're going into that 3rd stitch. Or geez, I have crocheting on the brain. We're going into that 3rd space and making a loop. So it's kind of like how we just did the webbing, except we're not pulling it into the center. We're just pulling it to the far end and making sure that it's tight. And we're doing this throughout the whole thing. So skipping 3 spaces, skipping 2 and putting it into the 3rd one, but whatever, same thing. So now we have all of those spaces done, and we're going to go back into the first one where we switched our colors, because this is our last 3 spaces. And you'll see here that my yellow and green threads are all wonky and messed up. So that is why I am saying to not skip that step, because it made my thing all messed up, but I fixed it. So make sure you do those 2 knots like I did, and then the 3rd knot, which is those 2 strings together. It'll make a difference, I promise. And you won't be able to tell because you'll be hiding it up. And if you do forget, it will be sliding off like this, and it will be all loose, and you'll have to eventually go in and put some super glue to make it stop falling and sliding and doing whatever. I mean, it's not a big deal, but it just gets annoying when you're trying to work on it and it's sliding all over the place. So don't forget that 3rd knot like I did. So now it's a little different. We're going to be creating 2 knots, one at the beginning and one at the end of each of these 7 spaces we just created. So we're going to be doing the same type of loop. We're just going to be putting one at the top and one at the bottom. And we're going to be doing this continuously until we have a smaller section, and then we'll do more webbing. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be going around the string, this long space we just created between those 3 spaces, and we're going to be making a loop, and we're going to pull it tight up to the top. And this is a little bit awkward in the beginning, but you'll get used to it and it'll be easier. So we just did the first one. Now we're going to do it again. We're going to go around and make a loop, except this time we're going to pull it tight to the end. And we're going to do the same thing on the next one and the next one. We're doing this on every single space. So 2 loops on each space. So 1 at the top, 1 at the bottom. And it does get easier. At first, like I said, it's awkward. Even for me, it's awkward. It's weird. But your hands and like the motor of it you'll get used to it. So you have the hexagon shape. It looks really weird. It starts to look really good after you get a few rounds in, and you'll see the petal form taking shape. And you just keep doing this over and over and over and over and over until you want to do the webbing. I don't know how many rows I did. I'll have to go and count back, and but it makes it unique, so do whatever rows you want. Now to cover up these strings, what we're going to do is we're going to make a loop and make sure that our strings go through that loop, and when we pull that on there, it will start covering it up. We do that every time so those ends get weaved in and we don't see them. So just keep going around, and if you do a color change, you'll do it like I did the green, except you'll do the 3 knots instead of 2. And then you'll keep going around and around and around like I am right here with the yellow. I hope that this is making sense and that you can see what I'm doing, even though it's sped up. Don't forget, you can always pause. You can go back. If you have any questions or anything, you can comment down below. Or you can find me on social media, on Instagram, and message me through there. Also, don't forget to like, subscribe, share this video. It'll help a lot, and I can post more videos for you guys. So right here, I just did a quick color change, and I made sure I did the 3 knots on this one. And I'm doing the same thing. I'm just going over and making sure that those strings are through. So this is what it looks like after you've done it for a while, and now we're going to go and do the webbing. So with the webbing, you need to go through the center of each of those wraps that we created. If you look, we have like diagonal, like a V shape, and we're going to go through and put string through the center of those and make loops just like we did on the top and like we do the webbing. And we're just going through the centers of each of those. We're going to do that for about 5 rounds, or you can do it more. It's up to you. I only did 5 rounds of just going through those centers over and over and over and over. And this is creating our base for our new webbing for the middle. So I kind of got like candy corn vibes, I'm not going to lie. But I also get sunflower and other types of flower, but I think it's really pretty. And I really like how this turned out. So depending on how many rounds you do, it doesn't matter. You're going to do the webbing in the middle the same way. I did it a couple different times, and each time until this last time I didn't like the way it looked. It made it look really bad. So you can experiment, but this is how I'm doing it. So what we do is we're going to go around all those strands that we just did, and I only did 5. We're going to make a loop, and we're going to pull down to make sure it's like in the center, so like we're doing webbing. Then we're going to go through the middle again, and it's going to create 2 loops. We're going to go around all those loops that we just made. Oh, I don't know what just happened. Pull it all the way down so it's in the center, and go through the middle, and we're creating a base for our webbing. So I hope you can see what I'm doing, because I had to do a voiceover, so I'm kind of like a little bit behind, and my video had to be sped up a little bit because it was going to be a really long video if I didn't, and I wanted to keep it a little bit shorter than 40 minutes, so I had to like cut it in half. So I do apologize, but hopefully you can see what I'm doing. And if you watch it a few times, I'm sure you can understand what I'm doing. I mean, it's not that hard. It's pretty simple. It's just watching and learning and understanding. So after you get this round set up, you're just going to go through the loops that you previously created, just like we have been. The webbing's always the same with all of my dream catchers that have webbing. It's all going to be the same thing. Just putting it over top of the loop and pulling through to make that loop. And if you get lost on which color you're on, you can pretty much tell which space is which between the colors. I thought it was going to be hard because my browns are so much similar, but it wasn't. So I finished my first base, and now I'm going back and going through the loops that I just created. And I am pulling tight, and it's going to buckle it up a little bit, but not too much. And it makes a really pretty web in the middle, and I really like it. You can also just keep going around and around with your colors instead of doing a web. But I didn't do that because I thought that it would end up getting down like kind of like a pinwheel type deal. So I didn't do that. So I finished my webbing. I pulled tight to make sure everything got tight after I did so many rounds. You don't have to. I just did. I could feel it getting really loose, so I ended up pulling pretty tight, and then I just weaved in my ends. It kind of looks like a star. I don't know. I don't care. I really like this design. I thought it was really pretty. So we're not done yet, though. We have another step to do besides weaving our ends. So I just knotted that like 3 or 4 times, and then I cut it short. And I'm going to go in and put some super glue off camera on that end so it stays. Or hot glue, or whatever you want to use. I took a crochet hook here and went in through underneath those loops and pulled it through, and it like just pulled little strands. So I had to do it a few times. But you could also use a yarny needle to hide in your ends, or you can cut them short and be ballsy. I don't know. I wouldn't do that, but it's up to you. It's your dream catcher. You do what you want. I also think that this would be pretty in some like pastel colors and like longer petals maybe. I don't know. Probably on like a bigger hoop it would obviously have bigger petals, so you'd have more room to put more colors, where this is a smaller hoop. But regardless, you need 21 stitches and 7 petals on each. So I'm just kind of fluffing it around, and now we're going to take our yellow and we're going to go through the center where we put our color for the webbing. And we're going to be going around the petals and through each of the centers, making a loop. So let's get started here. So we're going to be going through the center. I messed up, so I had to start it over. Make sure that your yarn, your thread is on top of the dream catcher. You're going to go down through the left side of your petal and up through the right side. You're going to twist it over and turn your hoop. You're going to go through the center and pull up. You're going to go down through the left side of your petal and up through the right side. You're going to twist it. You're going to go through the center. And make sure you go over top of that string so it makes a loop. You're going to turn, go down through the left side of your petal, and go up through the right side. Twist, go through the center, and make sure that string, you're going over top of that string so it creates a loop. Turn, go down through the left and up through the right. And we're going to do this for 5 times. I mean, you can do it for more. I did it for 5 rounds. That's it. So go down through the left, up through the right. Creates like a little twist, and it like defines the tops of the petals. I guess, I don't know. And just keep doing that. You can do it for 5 rounds. You can do it for 10 rounds. It'll get pretty bulky. So I think 5 is good. 5, 6 maybe at the most. I wouldn't do less than 5. And after you do this, you weave in your ends. And you can put more embellishments on it. Or I left mine plain. I thought it was pretty. And it had enough stuff without the embellishments on it. No feathers, no beads, because sunflowers don't have those things. But I wouldn't be like, I would if I'd have to see what it looked like first before I put them on there. But I kind of wanted it to be earthy tones, earthy and, like a sunflower and pretty. So I didn't put anything else on there. I really hope that you like this and you make one. I would love to see it, so you can find me on Instagram. If you're already on there and you make one, please tag me in it, or send it through Messenger or whatever on Instagram. And I hope that you enjoyed this tutorial and it was easy for you to follow along. But like I said before, if you got lost or have any questions or anything, comment down below. Message me on Instagram. So I hope that you like this, and I hope you create some beautiful dream catchers. Don't forget to weave in your ends, and once you cut and whatnot, you can always stick glue on there or weave them up through the little sections of colors or one color, whatever you did. So anyways, guys, thanks so much for watching. So sorry I've been gone for so long. I hope to have some more coming up soon. I've had some things going on. So I'm back. So I'll see you in the next video. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you know when I upload a video so you don't miss anything. It'll help me out, and I would really like to get